that roar when you ran out just puts goosebumps on the back of your neck.
Moss went straight through, Andrews there!
He's just forever looking for an opportunity.
Exhilarating football!
That's a good sign of a good team.
Accelerates and punches through them!
And he's only going to get better.
And the hammer stands them up! And Queensland going to do it again!
Well, thanks for joining us for a special State of Origin edition of Queenslander as the mighty Maroons look to win Game 2 down at the MCG and wrap up this year's series. The big talking point, Locky, out of the Maroons selection, no Selwyn Cobbo. How difficult was it to make that decision?
Well, I think the decision in the end was pretty easy for Bill. Look, I congratulate Selwyn for being open and honest about it. Like he's carrying a few niggles at the moment, and I think it's affecting him. It's affecting him mentally, and he was pretty open and honest with Bill about whether he was capable of performing in that arena. There's nowhere to hide in Origin, so I think he's young, and I think his time. It's not like it's over. He'll be back in the Maroons jersey at some point, but now's not the right time to sort of push him physically and mentally. Given that we're one up in the series, that's a bit of a luxury that Bill's got. So big decision, but at the same time, it's the right one.
Yeah, I agree, Locky. And Adam, when players, if they tell a fib to their mates as well as the doctor to get themselves in a game like that, it really could be quite an expensive one. And you've got to question whether they'll be considered for the next match should they not be at their best. So it's a pretty tough one, but it's not the best decision to make. Honesty is the best policy in an Origin match.
How hard is it when you come to rep footy and everyone's managing niggling injuries? I remember you were ruled out of a Kangaroos tour while with an alleged broken arm, but how hard is it to juggle that mid-season when everyone's feeling injuries? Yeah,
everybody goes through some painful moments, and they probably feel that they could get on the field, but in the back of their mind there's that little bit of doubt. And when you have doubt and you're playing against the finest players in the game, that can certainly be an enormous penalty that you pay and certainly put forward to your mates. I think that if you pull out, you're doing the best thing for yourself, your teammates, and your state.
I think a lot of it comes down to experience too. Like if you've played at Origin level 10 years, you know what your limits are.
Yeah.
He's still only just at the start of his career, and he obviously just thought that the niggles that he's got at the moment seem to be you can't get on top of them, and that's going to affect his performance. And I think, like I said, we've got an advantage. We're 1-0 up in the series. Bill is not, he's not desperate to pick players that are injured. He can sort of have that ability to be flexible, and he's done that.
And Billy actually revealed during his media conference Selwyn's receiving injections. Should the Broncos look to give him a rest, or will the bye week be enough, do you think? That gives him 2 weeks off, essentially.
Yeah, effectively. The bye, for Selwyn, it's time off to, I guess, give himself that sort of mental break, and then time off for his body to heal. And I think, long term, it'll be good for him. In the short term, it'll be good for him. So I don't think there's anything negative about it, and their bye is perfect for him.
Yeah, I think plenty of players have been needled up for that game and feel that you beauty, I can get onto the field, but you've always got in the back of your mind that little bit of doubt. Am I okay? Should I have done it? And if you get to not produce your best performance, you feel that you've let your teammates, your state and or your club down, and it's certainly an expensive penalty to pay.
And Billy was quite adamant in Game 1 that outside back on the bench was the right way to go. He was more than justified after the Reece Walsh incident. Capewell's on the bench now, not as versatile. Is that a fear, Locky, if a similar Reece Walsh type incident happens?
Oh, I don't think there's any more versatile player than someone like Luke Capewell.
Kurt Capewell, yeah.
Kurt Capewell.
Luke Capewell, get him up from Charleville.
Yeah, he's from Charleville, yeah. No, he's played in the centres at Origin before, and he did it for the Broncos. He's very capable in the centres, and that's, probably always the risk is if something happens to an outside back, as we saw in game one, that if you don't have a player that can move from your bench or your forwards into that centre role, then you're at risk. But I think, Kurtz, he's been there, done that, and I don't think he'd have any issues with going into that spot if he had to.
And Adam, I think the big mark is here we could probably get away with it in a game at club level. This is the highest level of football you will ever play. And if you're letting your teammates down and your state down, it is a penalty or a burden that you will carry around for the rest of your career. And certainly it could also come into play the next time the selectors are making a decision. They'll certainly put the pencil through your name quite swiftly.
So essentially, if there is an injury in the outside backs, you'd put Capewell at centre and move maybe a Val Holmes to the wing or something like that.
Yeah. So I think it is that key person that can play in the centres and defensively be sound.
The only other change for game two, no Jermaine Hopgood. He's got that back issue, but that means Felice Kaufusi comes onto the bench. Even though he played game one, he was 18th man. He's on the bench. Now, what does he bring, Locky?
Well, he brings the same as what Hopgood brings. He brings aggression, he brings effort, and, I guess the advantage here is he brings experience. He's played 15 games already for Queensland. So, I think, like for like in terms of their style, but, we're getting a more experienced player.
And a couple of things he also brings, Locky, is respect from the opposition and fear. For the opposition. I've seen quite a few blokes that are intending to receive the ball, and if they know that he's on the outside coming in, they tend to have that little bit of a peep sideways and thinking, well, I better cover that up. He's one of the most respected defenders in the game, so his experience, though, certainly cannot be underestimated at any stage.
They should just put he and Liam Martin in a corner, just one for a little while.
See which one wins out of you two. Go on.
That'd be entertainment in itself.
Oh, it definitely would. Worth the price of admission alone. With those two changes, do you think the team is as strong as game one, Locky?
I think, it's on par. Like I said, you bring in someone like Kaufusi's got the experience. He's been there, done that. So you don't lose. If anything, you gain something there. And obviously, Selwyn not being there, you lose a little bit of X factor. But I think, Capewell can play, in the forwards if need be. So in terms of having a bench that's more versatile, there's an advantage there for us. So I think it's on par to what we chose in game one.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of an alteration how the game is going to be. But he's enormously respected by the opposition, and certainly he's going to add a fair bit of confidence to his team's confidence level. It's an enormous amount to gamble with in a game of this standard, and I think that by having him on board is certainly going to make teammates feel quite comfortable.
What about New South Wales? They've panicked already. They played with 12 men. They've gotten rid of 5 players. They said they've made 5 changes to the team. But do you think, looking at this, to me, this team looks more dangerous for game 2 for the Blues?
It looks like it's got more points in it.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're bringing in Cam Murray, and then the big ones, Latrell. So, they've got some definite X factor just in one player now. Whereas I thought the first game, what they chose was all about getting into an arm wrestle and trying to win that battle of attrition, where someone like Latrell just brings that sort of nervousness that he can do something that we can't stop.
Yeah. This is a much better New South Wales team.
Yeah.
I'm sure that'll raise the spirits of and the intentions of the Maroons. But having a look at this one, I agree with Locky. Probably expected to see a couple of those names in game 1 for New South Wales. They've been called on, and they're expected to assist New South Wales as much as they possibly can, and they've got the experience to be able to do it, and they've got the credibility to be able to do it as well.
Yeah, I think the other part is the 7. I think his kicking game, long kicking game, is probably. Nico's kicking game in game 1 was not where it needed to be, but I think Mitchell's, that's why he's chosen there for his kicking game, and particularly his non-kicking game.
What about Latrell? If you were playing against Latrell, how would you try and put him off his game? Would you try and niggle him or work him over defensively?
I'll try and get the other centre to mark him. I think that'd be the number one priority. But just try and deny him time and space. He's a powerful ball carrier. He's a wonderful performer. I don't think that he's at the peak of his fitness at the moment. But in saying that, I probably expect that we're going to see a wonderful effort from him to try and prove to the New South Wales selectors, you should have picked me for game one. He's got enormous talent, enormous credibility, and with the expectation that again he's going to want to prove to the selectors that they were 101% incorrect by leaving him out. I think that's what we're about to see.
And another new addition to their side, Locky, on the bench, Connor Watson from the Roosters. We've seen him fill multiple positions. How do you think he'll be unleashed in Origin?
He's like an Energizer bunny. I think, Trent Robertson was asked about him the other night and he said, he brings energy, and that's exactly what he does. I just think Maguire will be waiting for the game to sort of lose a bit of its, it'll start to get to that point where both sides are starting fatigue when there's ball in play, and he's just fast feet around the ruck, and he'll be dangerous. And I think given if the ball's in play for long periods of time, he could be in the game after 25 minutes.
Yeah, he certainly does bring energy, Locky, and I think he brings inspiration to others as well. And when he gets on there, he'll probably try to increase the speed of the game every time he gets an opportunity to do so. And he's one of those performers that you expect is there to just make life a little bit easier for the others around him.
What lessons do you think the Blues learnt from game one?
Well, it's hard because, to play a game for 72 minutes with 12 men, it's very hard to get a genuine gauge. Look, there were periods in that game where they showed plenty of fight. Queensland, there's not a lot of chink in their armour, but I think, I just think the Blues for them, what they would have learned that they can't give too many opportunities to Queensland because there's just too many good players there that just know how to ice particular moments. The other part to this is obviously Reece. I'm always intrigued by the way the team's going to defend against him. Are they going to be passive or are they going to come out of the line and try and take his time away? Well, they showed their hand in game one, come out of the line and obviously try to get stuck into him and take his time away. Do they deploy the same tactics this game?
Well, I expect they probably will, Locky. I think that they might, but that could go against them. If they race out of the line and they open up just a little bit of a hole, I'm sure Walsh can make sure that he cashes in to the best of his ability. So certainly that could come back to be a horror moment for them. But who knows? Time will tell. But what we are guaranteed to see is a wonderful performance with the series on the line. It's a real bell ringer coming up.
And the pleasing part, he has passed all his HIA protocols, so he's definitely good to go after that concussion. But the Broncos have missed him the past couple of weeks, Locky. 3 losses in a row. They've tumbled out of the 8. What are you making of their form at the moment?
Yeah, well, I think they're now down on a bit of confidence. A lot of errors. And the errors have been there all year. They haven't really rectified that. And it's just shooting themselves in the foot. Look, the conditions weren't great the other night down in Sydney, but Souths were on the up. They've been playing well, so it's not. I don't think it was a surprise that we got beat, but just the level of execution for us at the moment is a bit of a concern. Look, the best way to get through this is just get back to basics, and sometimes it's just all you got to do is tuck it under the arm for 5 tackles, get to your kick, and just start to build some momentum, start to build some confidence by completing your sets, because at the moment they're not doing that.
Locky, I was just listening to a bit of conversation today on what New South Wales' plan would be for Walsh, putting the ball high. First up, that'd be a common sense move for them to try and, after he comes up with has a terrible injury such as he had, would that be something that you'd expect would be coming? I mean, he's got courage, he's got determination, he's got the will to win. That first ball going up, can we expect that from New South Wales, do you think?
I've got no doubt that they'll still want to be physical with him. But if it was me trying to overcome something like that, my first play would have to be one that I'm really aggressive at and go into it with confidence, and that'll sort of alleviate any nerves that he's got. So it'll be interesting to see what happens first play. If they put a bomb up, I think he'll attack it.
Yeah.
That's the way he plays.
Who was the guy you put the bomb up for in Origin, started this thing? Was it poor old Kurt Gidley, like the nicest man in the world?
It wasn't me.
It wasn't you?
No. I'll retell this story. It was, so the boys are fired up because this is when...
Steve Price?
Yeah.
Had been cleaned up.
And I told Smithy to tap it and just throw the ball back to him, as in the forwards. So give it to one of the big boys, because the big boys wanted to get stuck into their big boys.
Yeah.
But instead of tapping it and throwing it to the big boys, Smithy kicked it downfield to the smallest guy on the field. And then 17 Queenslanders come running down and just piled on Kurt Gidley. So that was never the intent, Kurt. Sorry.
Yeah, poor old Kurt Gidley, the nicest man in the NRL, just copped
So it was a miscommunication between the captain and the vice-captain.
But not a lot of sympathy.
It was a great Origin moment. But just on the Broncos, so they have the bye this week, but with all their Origin representation, does that kind of take away from that break? So, like, a lot of their senior players won't get that break?
Look, I think the senior players are now used to what they have to do to back up. Look, I think they need to reset the Bronx, and getting a bye and some time off will allow those younger guys to get that freshen up that they need, come back. And sometimes it's just when you've lost a bit of momentum and you've lost some confidence, you just got to sort of bring it all back to the basics and go and start again. And that's where I think they're at the moment. They can't be, thinking they can play, expansive football. They just got to come back to getting their sets completed and build momentum and build some confidence in the team, because at the moment their confidence is shot.
Yeah, you're right there, Locky. It almost fits into the old saying, a change is as good as a holiday. And in a situation like this, I think it's going to be a breath of fresh air for the guys.
And I think Reynolds is still 5 or 6 weeks away from returning. How much do they need him right now? You look at that team and you think they're really missing Adam Reynolds.
Yeah, look, there's no point talking about it because you can't get it back. Like I think every time we talk about that, it's sort of, I think it's a distraction for someone like, Ezra and Jock. Yeah. So it is what it is. They just have to make, those two boys in particular, Ezra, and bring Reece back into it. And there'll be points in them, but they still need to find. They still need to find a way to build pressure to create opportunities. At the moment, they're trying to force the opportunity without creating that pressure.
Yeah, and the players don't need to be reminded of the painful issue that they're facing. I think they'll go out there. The coaching staff will work with them relentlessly on making sure that they go ahead with it and not worry about the headlines that they're facing pretty much every day and the questions that are being thrown to them. Are they the same team without? Well, each and every game that they play, they have a will to win, some determination that's about to go on show, and the confidence is the only thing that can be knocked around.
And our other Brisbane team, I know you Broncos don't like referring to them as the other Brisbane team, the Dolphins, Locky, but looking at the ladder now, they're 4th. They've cemented their place in the top 4 at the moment. Are they the surprise team for you this year?
Well, they surprised me beating Cronulla at Shark Park. So you're having a good year if you're winning games at Shark Park. So they're doing a lot of things right, and I think what the Broncos aren't doing is what the Dolphins are. They're completing their sets, they're building pressure, and they're creating some opportunities, and they're making the most of those opportunities. So, it's always one of the greatest strengths of Wayne's is he doesn't want his team to beat themselves, and they're definitely they're not. That's why they're in every contest every week, and they're getting enough confidence, in particular out of some of their younger players, to win these games against high quality competition.
Yeah, players out always sort of distract the mental approach for a lot of players in the team. But I agree with Locky. To beat Cronulla at Shark Park, that's something else. And I thought the performance that came in, I gave them no chance, to be honest. In the tipping comp, I went with the Sharks. I thought, no, can't see them even getting close this week. But any team that's guided by Bennett, I should understand, is quite capable of getting rid of sides, no matter how good they are.
They've surprised me because they've done it without Tom Gilbert and Tom Flegler for a big chunk. Even last week, Jesse Bromwich didn't play. So essentially their three best middle forwards didn't play, and they beat a bulked up Sharks.
Plathy was good. He was terrific.
He's one of my favourite players now.
The workload that he displayed in that game was unbelievable. I'm sure there's the challenge out for who's the most famous Plath in the family coming up. But that was a wonderful performance, and I'm sure his dad was sitting back there with goosebumps all over him. That was a wonderful performance from his son.
Yeah, I think Wayne's always said just know your job and do your job. So whoever goes into the jersey, Plath's been outstanding, but then you got Katoa.
Yeah.
You got Herbie, who's been great for him, and then Hammer at the back. There's a lot of guys that have just filled the jersey and did their job. And if everyone does that, you're a hard team to beat.
And you mentioned Katoa. Where does he sit on the list of young playmakers in the NRL? He's right up there, isn't he? With the likes of maybe Sam Walker, guys who are under the age of that 23 mark. They're very rare, those young game managers, rather.
And I think winning games like that against Cronulla, was it Thursday night? It was Thursday night, yeah. Like it's a hostile environment. Halfback up against the current State of Origin halfback. Yeah. So that's a big notch in your belt, and that's just going to give him his game and his confidence, to grow and develop his game. So he's only getting better with every game, and I guess he's by the back end of the year, if the Dolphins are in the finals, then it's going to be another big part of his development.
Yeah, he knows what he can do now, and self-belief's a wonderful thing. To go into it with, no one gave them a chance really, to see the way that he took hold of the challenge at hand. I thought it was fantastic, wonderful, and great for the Dolphins' chances as well. It was a wonderful effort.
And I know Wayne's won multiple premierships, but if he gets this side into the finals in just their second year, is it one of his great achievements?
Oh, I think it just enhances the legacy.
Yeah.
He's already done so many things in the game, but I think when the Dolphins came in, most people first year had them wooden spoon.
Yeah.
And they were just outside the 8, So, if he gets them to a finals in the first 3 years, that's a huge achievement, but that's one of many for the Supercoach.
And we'll see the Dolphins live and free Friday night, a top 4 battle. The top of the table Storm up against the Dolphins, Suncorp Stadium. NRL action continues while we're in this State of Origin period. Next Wednesday at the MCG. We can't wait for that. Hopefully a crowd of around 90,000 to see Queensland wrap up the series. Thanks for joining us here on the Wide World of Sports.
This year, NRL on 9 is your one-stop shop for all footy.
That's right, Freddie. Not about the highlights. Action. 7 days a week.
Billy and Gus podcast, get that on your drive on the way home. Immortal Behaviour, grab a seat on the couch for that. And of course, my favourite, Freddie and the Owner.
The best footy brains, the biggest games.
Don't trust the algorithm, subscribe to NRL on 9 and get all your entertainment there.